Hi, everyone. Well, I have good news and I have bad news. The bad news is I will not be in school this week. I'm still recovering from my knee surgery, so I know you're all very upset. The good news is I made videos, so to make sure that we don't get too far behind, I want to make sure that we finish our final unit. I know we basically have a month left, so I don't want to lose a whole week of that. So I'll be posting these videos over the next few days, and at the end of the week, I'll do an assignment on Schoology that you can do on your own, but you'll have to submit it. It can be open notes. You can do it with other people, but I want to make sure that everyone's following, make sure they know what's going on. First thing first, I posted a video on Schoology. It is called How a Light Bulb Works. It's 4 minutes. It's fun. It's easy to watch. So pause this and go watch that video before we continue so that you know what we're talking about. Okay. And I'll wait. And we're back. So also make sure so that I know that you listened to this video. On the bottom, put your least favorite Pesach food. So write in the comment section your least favorite Pesach food so that I know that you've listened. And of course, don't forget to subscribe below. Okay. So in the video you saw that, okay, for the video. So our topic is Shabbat and technology. And this is a really important topic because obviously so many halachic issues today revolve around different forms of electricity, sensors, voice activation. So that's where things are headed. That's where things are going. And the smarter our homes get, the more complicated these things are going to get. So we really need to understand the basics of how electricity works, how technology works, so that we can begin to understand how halacha grapples with these issues. I like learning about this also because this is bigger than just about the topic of Shabbat and electricity or Shabbat and technology. It's going to show us a little bit of how halacha kind of grapples with change. As the world changes technologically and things that didn't exist before become part and parcel of everyday life, how does halacha interact with it, deal with it, and adapt to it? And I think what we're going to see is that things that maybe nowadays we might take as assumed or final decisions, there's a process that has to happen to get to a final decision where we then understand exactly how halacha views something. Okay. And we'll start off with the light bulb, because the light bulb was really the first halachic issue to come up. And that's because if you saw in the video, while electricity was discovered in the 1800s, it didn't really have any practical uses yet. Like, it was for a while just interesting. They hadn't figured out what to do with it. When the light bulb comes around in the 1870s, now there's a very practical use. And now it's being introduced into people's homes. And the question becomes, can you turn on a light bulb on Shabbat, right? And in order to understand, to answer that question, you need to understand what a light bulb is and how it works. And that's why technology, halacha, and science often, interact, because you can't answer this question without knowing what it is. And sometimes the best poskim, they have scientists that they rely on to answer these questions. Famously, Rav Moshe Feinstein would lean on his son-in-law, Rabbi Tendler, Mrs. Fried's father, for certainly medical advice, science advice, but medical advice, because you need to know what was going on. Rebecca Schlechter says, hi. This isn't even for her class. Okay. For her grade. Okay. So from the video you saw that a light bulb is really a heat bulb. And that's an important point. How does a light bulb work? We're talking about the original incandescent light bulbs, the ones that get very hot when you touch them. So we're not talking so much now about fluorescent bulbs and we're not talking about fluorescent bulbs yet and LED lights. So an incandescent bulb uses heat. There's a little piece of metal you saw from the video in the middle that heats up, gets really, really, really hot. I think it's 600-800 degrees. If you touch it, your finger would burn right off. That's why you need the bulb around it to protect yourself and to keep the heat in, so that keeps the light going. So the question became, is it a problem of havara? Is it considered lighting a fire if you're heating up the metal? Okay, because the entire process of the light bulb was heating up a metal with electricity and getting the metal so hot that it began to glow, because that's what happens with metal. If you get it hot enough, it begins to glow. So the question was, is that considered havara? Is that lighting a fire? So that's a machloket between Rashi and the Rambam. And Rashi thinks, so the Rambam thinks that glowing metal, if you would just heat up metal, forget a light bulb for a second. If somebody would just heat up metal, that would be havara, that'd be like lighting a fire. Rashi seems to disagree, but it seems that according to most opinions in Shulchan Aruch, heating metal is a melacha d'oraita of havara. You are lighting a fire according to the Torah, because you're making something glow, you're making something light. That's a form of creating light. So it seems that halachically speaking, turning on a light bulb, according to pretty much all opinions, would be a melacha d'oraita, because you're heating up metal that creates light. So it's not so much that you're creating a light, it's more that you're heating up metal to make it glow, which in general would be considered a melacha d'oraita. Okay, so that's stage one. Now, if that's the only electricity question we ever got, it would be pretty simple, and everybody would just agree, yes, turning on a light bulb is havara d'oraita because you're making a fire. However, as we know, there's many uses of electricity that have nothing to do with heating up metal, right? When you turn on your air conditioner, when you turn on your heater, when you turn on a fan, when you turn on a refrigerator, electricity is making all those things happen, and you're not making metal glow. You're not creating any light with your action. You're simply creating a flow of electricity that's allowing some appliance or something to work. So the question now is that going to be any sort of malacha? What would that be? It's hard to say that's lighting a fire, because there's no fire. I'm not creating any fire, right? If I plug in my refrigerator, right, nothing's being lit up. Yes, if you open the fridge, the light will go on, but let's say I don't open the fridge. I just plug it in, okay? So now the motor goes on and it's going, and many things are happening, but I'm not lighting anything up. So what is the status of electricity if there's no actual fire? Now, that'll be tomorrow's class. Just one more point here, though. If you heard at the end of the video, we started talking about fluorescent lights and LED lights. So fluorescent lights and LED lights work very differently than incandescent bulbs. An incandescent bulb works by heating up metal, but there's no metal heated up in LED lights and fluorescent lights. So according to most opinions, fluorescent lights and LED lights would be very similar to other questions about electricity, because there is no fire. I'm not heating up any metal. All I'm doing is creating some sort of chemical reaction. And I'm just looking at these are LED lights at our chandelier. So I'm just looking at them as I'm talking, because just looking at how they light up. So these LED lights don't work with any sort of heating of metal. So really the question of electricity would apply to these as well. So the question for tomorrow's class is, what's the status of electricity that has nothing to do with heating metal? Okay, I think a pretty simple class today. And tomorrow's going to get a little more in depth, and I'm going to post some sources on Schoology as well. Have a great day, everyone, and hopefully I'll see everyone next week.